What's up? It's Billy Brisbane, aka Getting Bills on Twitter, going over the last Monday night football game of the year. So you know the boys are going to have to make some money here. Cleveland Browns are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. First guy that we're going to look at is Baker Mayfield, $9,200 on DraftKings, $14,500 on FanDuel. I would say overall, though, his fantasy upside has been somewhat just non-existent. He's thrown for just 15 touchdowns and no more than 2 touchdowns in any game so far this season. It's hard to have faith in Baker's passing or rushing upside over his last 4 games against the Steelers. He's only had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions against this Steelers team here. The second guy that we're going to be looking at here is going to be Jarvis Landry, who's not on the injury report for this game, and he had one of his more productive games of the season in week 8 against the same exact Steelers team, where he had 5 catches for 65 yards, his third highest total for the season. He's in a decent matchup against the Steelers, who allowed the 12th most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position this year, and he's had at least 4 receptions or a touchdown in 8 of his last 10 games played. But the next guy that we're going to be looking at here is going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones. To be honest with you, on paper, it looks fine playing DPJ. He's had more upside in the weeks that Landry wasn't playing. Now that he's back, I don't know. He feels a little bit more boom or bust here. He's had 13 receptions in his last 5 games, but a 16.5-yard ADOT. So he has big play upside, but there's some things that we're going to go over in this Browns wide receiver core when it goes into the secondary pieces. Rashad Higgins is also there. He's led the Browns receivers in receiving yards for 2 consecutive games. He's had a 65% snap share behind Landry and Jones, and out snap rookie Anthony Schwartz from Auburn. He's benefited from the COVID outbreak. He's had 11 targets, 8 catches, and 82 yards over his last 2 games. But that honestly might come down. The guy that we're going to have highlighted as a value play in this video is going to be Anthony Schwartz, the Auburn rookie here, man. A little bit of coach speak, but, you know, we're going to read into the coach speak. A lot of people ask, what are the Browns playing for? Anthony Schwartz is expected to see an expanded role in the offense tonight, and that makes sense. The 3rd round draft pick in last year's draft, he scored his first touchdown last week for the Cleveland Browns. And if you look at his player profiler, man, he's a speedster, best comparable to Curtis Samuel. I have a touchdown bet on Anthony Schwartz anytime touchdown plus 900 tonight, and I like his DraftKings price tag at $1,400. He's grading now as the 2nd best point per dollar play of the slate. Overall, though, when it comes to the tight end position for this game, I'm kind of less enamored about playing the tight ends on this slate. Austin Hooper and David Njoku. Let me scroll down this a little bit more. To be honest with you, Austin Hooper, he's averaged less than 6 yards per target this season and has only gone over 42 yards once this season. So he'll be really touchdown dependent. I'm not really too high on Austin Hooper or David Njoku. He's kind of off my radar in this one. He got 2 targets, and that came on the final drive of last week's game in a blowout. So, I mean, not a blowout, but negative game script. Next guy that we're going to be looking at, though, is going to be Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb gets a nice little matchup, man. He's been having a great year, averaging a league's best 5.7 yards per carry when running against 8-man boxes. The Steelers' defense is in the bottom of the lead in rankings in rushing yards allowed per game, 32nd in the NFL, and in yards allowed per carry, 31st in the NFL. And the Steelers have allowed a 100-yard rusher in 8 consecutive games. So Nick Chubb is grading now as one of my favorite plays of tonight's slate. But the next guy that we're going to be looking at here is going to be the man, the myth, the legend here, the one that everybody's has their eye circled. He is the man of the match. It could be his final home game as a Steeler, as Big Ben is expected to retire. The Browns defense this year has allowed 27 touchdowns to the quarterback position in 15 games so far this season. So, you know, to be honest with you, I'd rather play Big Ben than Baker Mayfield. So I'm all on board the Big Ben train. But the guy that we're going to be stacking Big Ben with tonight is going to be Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson is averaging 10.7 targets per game, going over 15 DraftKings points 7 times so far this year. He's had 17 red zone targets, and he can easily find in the back of the end zone in this one too at plus 115. The Browns will be without John Johnson III and Ronnie Harrison Jr., their 2 starting safeties. So Deontay Johnson is looking like one of the core plays of tonight's slate on both websites. $10,400 on DraftKings, $13,000 on FanDuel. He is one of my favorite plays of the slate. The next guy that we're going to be looking at here is Chase Claypool. Of recent, McLeod's been cutting into his targets, and he seems to be taking a step back of recent this year. In week 8, he caught 4 passes for 45 yards and ran the ball for 16 yards on 2 carries, and he's not caught a touchdown since week 5. So ultimately, I am off of Chase Claypool in this one, and we are going to go down the rabbit hole of the Ray McLeod route. I actually expect him to be popular on tonight's slate. The former 6th-round draft pick has been heavily involved in the offense in recent weeks, logging at least a 60% snap share in each of the team's last 4 games. He's not really a red zone target type of guy, but he's on the field at a cheap price tag. Beggars can't be choosers, with at least 8 targets in Pittsburgh's last 3 games. He could be a solid point per dollar option on both websites. $3,400 here on DraftKings, $6,500 here on FanDuel as well. Next guy that we're going to be looking at, though, is going to be Freiermuth. Anytime touchdown plus 220. You already know what the deal is. Freiermuth has clear concussion protocol for this game. He scored 3 touchdowns over his last 5 games. He's emerged as one of Big Ben's favorite targets in the red zone. So you know I'm all on board the Freiermuth bandwagon. And the last guy they're going to be looking at for tonight's slate is going to be Najee Harris. He's been a very consistent option for the Steelers this year, putting it together a solid rookie campaign season. He's had over 90 rushing yards in 2 of his last 3 games and over 100 yards in 3 of his last 4 games. One of the most consistent fantasy scorers on the slate for this one tonight, only failing to reach 16 fantasy points 3 times this season. The Browns rank 7th best defense when it comes to rushing touchdowns allowed this season. In his first career game versus the Browns, he had 91 rushing yards and a touchdown. So overall tonight, my favorite plays of the slate is going to be Deontay Johnson, Anthony Schwartz, and Pat Freiermuth. But until next time, make sure you hit the bell notification, hit the like button. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. You know, we're 20 followers away from 2K. I'm trying to organically get to 2K. I don't want to do one of those teach train things. So make sure you follow your boy over on Twitter at Getting Bills and hit the bell notification for Pub Sports Radio for all of our live videos, and hit the like button on your way out. And man, it's crazy to say, last Monday Night Football. So make sure you head over to Manscaped, use promo code Pub Sports Radio.